Just a couple of seconds. All right.
Awesome. We are live. Hey everyone, I'll welcome you all to today's Meshery development call. Today is 3rd December. Oh wow, we are already in December of 2025. And this call is mainly for Meshery updates. So in this call, we usually discuss on the updates from the contributor, community managers, and maintainers in various fields that they are managing and maintaining. And if you're new to the Meshery, feel free to check out the Meshery.io. Meshery is a CNCF sandbox project. It's a cloud native manager, help you manage your cloud native infrastructure. I'll also suggest you to try on play.meshery.io as well. Well, since it's a CNCF project, we also follow the CNCF code of conducts. And yeah, so before we jump directly to our agenda items that we have today, first, if you can make sure that you add your name in the attendees list. And the second thing, I think I have two things this time, three things this time instead of two. The second thing would be I will suggest you all if you can open your webcam. I will highly suggest if you can open your webcam. It's fine if you're wearing any t-shirt. I'm like my hairs was messy, so I just put a cap on my hair, so it's fine. I'll suggest you to open your webcam, and the third thing would be I'll suggest you to open your mic as well if you're new to today's call and introduce yourself. It's a great way to introduce yourself to the maintainers and the contributors of the Meshery. So anyone new would like to say hi and to introduce where they are calling from or what they do? A short introduction would be really nice.
Hello, I'm Avian from Nepal, and I've recently
Hey,
started contributing to Meshery. Yeah, and I have had a PR that was assigned to me by Lee, and I'm thankful for Lee to assigning the PR. Yeah.
awesome, Avian. Thanks for your introduction. And it will be very cold, I think, in the Nepal. But yeah, thanks for the introduction. Anyone else would like to go ahead and say hi? Who is new to today's call? Who is new? Kishore, Nishika, if I'm not aware, Rajesh, uh, by chance. Anyone else? Okay, I'll wait for 5 more seconds in case if I'm missing someone. Awesome. I think people are shy or either they are already joining the meeting. Okay, so just in case if you're not able to introduce yourself here directly, you can feel free to drop your introduction in the chat. And also, if you still are joining, if you're new, I'll highly suggest again to open your webcam. It's always nice to connect with faces, to know you more better with the faces instead of voices. So I'll highly suggest that. Okay, I'll move to agenda items. So we have the announcement today. So maybe Abid or Lee, would you like to cover this one?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this announcement is regarding a new Docker extension that we are publishing. So this Docker extension is especially for Canvas, and this is already available now, and it all has come like lots of downloads. So this extension helps you to kind of locally host an instance of Canvas and start using Canvas. So Canvas is a kind of a custom distribution built on top of Meshery, so which has like some things pre-configured for you and the Canvas extension already loaded for you. So if you want to start using Canvas directly from your Docker desktop, you can just install this application and sorry, this extension from the Docker extensions, and it will like just install the extension and that sets up the Canvas server locally inside Docker. And after that, you can just start using Canvas directly from here. And there are a couple of like special things you can just start from this extension. As you would install it, you can just start converting your local compose files. If you're like working with Docker, you might have some Docker compose files. You can just import them from here and convert them to like get them ready for Kubernetes, and then you can visualize them inside the canvas. So the canvas, I think you should be familiar with canvas, but you can also use like canvas from directly if you go to canvas.new. So it's just kind of a local hosted version of canvas. And so you can basically do everything you would do in canvas, like on canvas.new, but there is also like you can now also use operator mode directly. Once you kind of do a self-hosted, you can access the operator mode and kind of deploy infrastructure directly from your Docker extension to a Kubernetes. So whether it's like a Kubernetes like running cluster running inside your Docker, or like some remote Kubernetes, or from Minikube, it doesn't matter, like wherever the Kubernetes is, it might automatically discover the one that you might have spin up locally inside Docker. But yeah, you can connect to any other Kubernetes and start working from here. So any questions on this?
Yeah, if I'm collaborating with someone else in on a design, would I expect that I can still do that real-time collaboration with people, if
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, like from the Docker extension, you can like do kind of like there's special things that you can either collaborate with other people that are using the Docker extension, or you can also like collaborate with people that might be using Canvas.new. So it's like compatible with any instance of Canvas, whether somebody's like one person might be working on a design on Canvas.new, and other person might be working locally from their Docker extension, and third person might be working from their Docker extension. Till you have the access to the design link, you can collaborate, and you can basically like explore in the same way you would do it on a hosted version. And you can already bring your existing user account, so you don't need any new user account or anything. So if you have a user account on layer 5, you can just use that and you would have access to Canvas.
I know Yash has a question as well. There's just one follow-up to mine, and then I'm good. Yeah. So your answer was yes, that you can, if you're using the extension version, so to speak, if you can call it a version, then what would you call it? I always want to say something like the form factor is sort of it comes in different form factors, and that's probably like not the correct term, but you can deploy Meshery and have its canvas extension. You can get at it in a bunch of different ways, I guess. And one of the ways is this is Docker Desktop. If you want to collaborate with people in real time, you were saying, yeah, whether they are using first of all, yes, if they're using the extension as well in Docker Desktop, that you can collaborate.
Yeah.
But you also said, just to clarify, you said they don't have to be using the Docker extension. They could be on the website canvas.new. They could be on the website playground.meshery.io as well.
Yeah.
What if they're a contributor and they just built Meshery locally? They've signed in and they're in their
Yeah,
Canvas.
till they are like signing in under like the layer 5 provider, and yeah, if they are using layer 5 provider, even locally setting up Meshy, they can still collaborate and would get the shared access.
Oh, okay. Okay, so
Like
actually it
once
doesn't
you
matter.
spin up like Meshy locally, you can use a couple of different providers, like the non-provider, the layer 5 provider, and in future maybe some other provider. So till everybody is using the same provider, especially like the remote provider right now, layer 5, then they can get access to the collaboration and persistence and everything. So yeah, just one thing with the extent, because like kind of the extension is like self-contained version of canvas.new. So whenever we would make a new canvas.new version, you can like update the extension to get on the latest features. So you can, yeah, once you install it and you are on the latest version, you could say like install, but if there is a new version available, it would say update, and you can then just update the extension to get the latest features as we continuously keep making new releases. I guess there will be some people who might give it a try. So yeah, feel free. And if you find any issues, yeah, ping in Slack on the Meshery channel or the Meshery extensions channel. I think I'm on the extensions channel if you find any issues, or just maybe give some feedback on your experience using the extension.
Thank you, Abel. I think I just have one question, which is just to, I think I probably know the answer. It's just a question so that others also may know. It's like, can Canvas connect with other Kubernetes cluster if it's running inside the Docker, or is it like it's only work with Docker Kubernetes cluster?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, by default, it might discover your like the local Docker cluster, but yeah, you can connect it like any cluster, like whether it's a locally running Minikube, or if you have a cluster running on GKE or AKS or wherever you have, like if you have access to the kube config that is publicly accessible, you can import the connection into the locally installed Canvas extension. So yeah, you can just click on this Kubernetes icon and can upload your new connection. And you can, yeah, then you can just like, if you add a new connection, you can just switch to the operator mode and see like whatever is existing, like running on your clusters. You can just visualize that and just ingest the existing cluster data also, and you can use the designer mode to create new infrastructure and also like architect and everything. Okay. I don't think we have any other questions.
Yeah, hey, two other things, maybe. So Husaina and Tejas were just clarifying that there are two extensions. So
Yeah.
a Canvas extension. Okay, when we say extensions in this particular conversation, we're talking about
Docker extension.
Docker extensions. Okay, all right. So not Meshery extensions. So Docker has extensions, or Docker Desktop has extensions. Meshery has extensions. Okay, fine. There, a couple of years ago, we published a Docker Meshery extension, or a Meshery extension for Docker. And now we're publishing a Canvas extension for Docker. And one way I think of thinking about it, tell me if this is true, is that one of them is more powerful than the other. The Meshery extension, it includes all of Meshery plus the Canvas extension, inside of Meshery. This newer Docker extension for Canvas, like it only includes
Canvas.
I mean, like it has Meshery inside, but the UI,
Yeah, so yeah, this extension is like specially tailored towards like Canvas and just the Canvas use case. But yeah, the mesh extension that's also available, that's more like general purpose, and it's basically kind of just the kind of a self-hosted, easy to use version of Meshery with some default configuration. But yeah, it's like very like, it's just like the whole Meshery thing and can do almost anything that you would do on a locally installed Meshery. And this one is just specially tailored towards Canvas. So, and it makes like it a bit easier and better like experience to use Canvas if you are especially using this.
cool. And one other question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, please.
I guess this last thing was just, I know as a user of Canvas, I'd gotten pretty used to being able to drag and drop either an image or like a text file, or sometimes I'll just drag and drop like a Helm chart or compose file, I guess, in this case with Docker Desktop, like, onto my browser, which is kind of how you might upload an image or something in certain apps, and Canvas lets you do that. But now that this is a different like interface inside of
Yeah, that should be working like your usual workflow of like whether you're dropping some infrastructure files like a Helm chart onto your Canvas UI, that should absolutely work. And yeah, that does work. We test that, so you can just drag and drop your files, whether they are Helm charts, manifests, customizations, or whether you're dragging and dropping images, that should work. And also like clipboard, if you're like copying from an image from your browser, you can just paste it here. That should work.
It does work.
Yeah, that does work. Yeah.
Should work or does work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that does work.
Okay. It just sounds all right. Cool. Thanks for answering my question. That's great. By the way, when Yash had asked a great question around the idea that it's very convenient to work with inside Docker Desktop because you get this super easy to stand up Kubernetes cluster, and then you can connect Meshery and Canvas right to that local. But then, yeah, that you can connect to other clusters. I guess it gets a little weird for me, but like because you can configure public cloud services like an EC2 instant, like a VM that doesn't run in Kubernetes, and it just runs in like AWS. My mind gets slightly confused as to, so it's like, maybe another question to ask is, Yash got a yes to his question. Can I use this Docker desktop extension to connect to any number of Kubernetes clusters, remote or local? In the same way, can I connect to any number of, I guess it's the 3 public cloud, well, 4, I guess there's an exascale, but like the different cloud components, can you connect to those clouds from and deploy to those clouds from this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, so we support like I think AWS, Azure, and the GCP. So yeah, that should work. Like if you have like a connection to any of those clouds and like the operators are configured that, so because like it use the different kinds of operators to manage the different cloud providers. But yeah, this should interface with them properly, and you should be able to work with like GCP or AWS directly from Canvas and orchestrate them from here.
Yeah, one thing to maybe follow up on, maybe to ask Husseina, just because she had some great questions last week, and she obviously took away that knowledge and is sharing it with others now. But Husseina, just to call you out as I learn this with you, maybe, is like, I think what Abid just said is, yes, if you'd like to configure non-Kubernetes services of a few different public clouds, you can do so using Meshery, using Canvas, and you can do so using this Docker extension. And I think the caveat, if you could call it that, it probably is a caveat that he had stipulated, is that connectivity and the ability to configure an Azure table or whatever that pink thing is in the screenshot, and a Kafka stream or whatever, is that it's a Kubernetes required activity, or it's like a Kubernetes, you have to have like a Kubernetes operator for that cloud running somewhere. And so maybe like, I think part of the thing that gets me confused is that when I do a deployment, I know I'm accustomed to identifying what environment I want to deploy to. And in that environment, I choose like a Kubernetes cluster as my target. And I'm not choosing like AWS as my target. And so then I think my brain disconnects there. But so Husseina, does your brain reconcile this though? And does this make sense to you?
Like we do connect to existing Kubernetes clusters in AWS, GCP, and all using a kubeconfig file that we get from those clusters, right? So it's like, so in this context, for any of this stream and other AWS things to work, we should be basically connected to the AWS cluster first, right?
Nice. Okay. Actually, yeah, the way that you said it helps me understand it better, because it's kind of a natural thing. It's you were saying like, hey, if you connect Meshery to your EKS cluster, and then in a design you include a few EC2 or like non-Kubernetes services, you deploy the design and you target your EKS cluster, your AWS EKS, Kubernetes cluster, like you in essence are pointing at your target is AWS. You're just sort of going through your EKS cluster to get to the rest of the services. And so that helps me. Now, that's thanks for that, Hussein. That helps. Actually, I want to, now that I'm understanding it or feel like I'm going to risk getting myself confused again. I'm going to ask this. So what Hussein has said helps me get clarity. Technically, is this feasible? Or like, I think what's being said is if you want to manage non-Kubernetes resources, infrastructure, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of those components that Meshery supports. When you want to, and you can just create those designs, but when you want to go deploy them, or you want to discover existing infrastructure that you have deployed in any of those clouds, that's a Kubernetes required activity for how Meshery works. Okay. And Hussein gave the example of like, yeah, if you're using AWS already and you have EKS, then connect to it and you've in essence got your AWS connection. This next part is the part where I want to risk confusing myself. Well, what if we use EC2 instances in AWS, VMs, just that service. We don't run anything. We don't use EKS though.
Yeah.
What we do use is
Some.
actually here. What we do use is, well, okay, fine, is AKS.
Yeah.
Azure's managed Kubernetes.
Yeah.
If I have a design that has EC2 instances in the design, could I still make a deployment? Because like there is a Kubernetes, it's my AKS. Can it transact and process the?
Yeah, I think it's feasible actually. Like at least I think like for ASO, like it kind of needs a Kubernetes environment for the operators to like orchestrate, but it's not necessary. Like the Kubernetes should not be like necessarily connected to like Azure in any way. So it needs kind of a home base to kind of just orchestrate using Kubernetes and using its operators. But then like once you are actually I'm not like exactly sure, but you have to kind of configure them properly, like exposing the secrets and everything that so you can properly communicate with Azure. But after that, I think yeah, you probably can use any other Kubernetes also as a target for your Azure cloud.
Did that? So I'm still following, but did that confuse anyone else? Does anyone?
I have another question here. Like, I think if there is anything with respect to EKS in one of the design and AKS doesn't support it, I think in that case, maybe we won't be able to deploy them in the other one, right? Other than that, I think whatever Abid is saying, like if it is something very common kind of thing, it should be okay. The design, we can move it to AKS as well.
Yeah, it's like that's part of. Does anybody know? Hussein has got it. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm talking about CRDs which are supported specifically in EKS and not available in AKS, right? So if our design uses any of those, I don't think our design can be deployed on AKS as is. So we should be able to throw some validation error or something of that sort, right? So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like if some CRDs are not configured properly for your clusters, yeah, then you like I think probably once you're like doing a dry run, that should catch it. So it kind of attempts to deploy and it might find most of the errors. Yeah, and even after that, if you try to deploy, it should like tell you exactly what was deployed and what was not deployed. And after that, you can use operator mode to actually see what's running. So yeah, there are like a couple of layers you can go through to know exactly what's happening. But yeah, so with some quick validation from the dry run, you should be able to catch most of the errors if your clusters are not properly configured or if there is some mismatch with the configurations.
Yeah. At the risk of boring everyone, but in the hopes that everyone arrives at the same level of clarity, I'll push this one further. And maybe delight Hussein, I don't know. So hopefully you guys can keep pace as I say this slowly. Everybody. Meshery includes a few different abstractions. It does. It has some abstractions. Like an example of an abstraction that Meshery has is a design. Here's a design on the screen. It's just a diagram. The design, it's a file. So you can open the file and have it rendered visually, or you can export the file or save it as a different design, as a new file, share it with other people. You can export it. And it's just YAML underneath or JSON or whatever you want to, however you want to think of it. That's all that this is. Technically fine. Is it just YAML? Like, yeah, it is. I was going to be cheeky and say like, this is an image, a PNG. Still, the PNG is included in the YAML file. It just becomes really big YAML file because it's got all the byte code for the PNG in there. But it's still just a JSON file. Anyway, that's an abstraction that Meshery has. It's an abstraction over whatever you design, which could be all kinds of different infrastructure or just thoughts and concepts. This is how yeah. Okay, fine. Meshery does not abstract everything though, or there are different approaches that different tools have taken to helping you configure and manage your infrastructure with ease. One approach that other tools like Meshery have taken or can take is to say that, let's say that you wanted to provision a VM that in the tool, you might go to the VM component. Let's just pretend that this is the VM component. And you want two of them, so you put two of them here. Now, let's say that this is a VM component and it is generic. It's like I could provision this to Azure or GCP or because it's a generic virtual machine component.
Yeah.
Now, what Hussein is saying, like, hey, if that's how you're approaching the system, and if that's how Meshery is working, then, on EC2, they have these different instance sizes, and those instance sizes, like X number of cores and fast disk speed and all that stuff, it's not Azure has, I don't know what you call it. It's not called an instance. It's called a virtual machine or something. And they don't call it sizes. They call it flavors, or I don't remember. OpenStack calls it flavors. Anyway, they're kind of the same. They're both talking about a virtual machine. One of them is using some hypervisor and the other one's using this hypervisor. Like, it's not all the same. What Hussein is saying is like, hey, you got to watch out because, you might mostly get what you want, or I think this is what Hussein is saying, but if you ask for an instance size of 400,000 CPU cores on AWS, while AWS has it, Azure doesn't. So that would be an abstraction. That would be like this VM component is just an abstraction that represents generically a virtual machine. And depending upon how you configure it, your mileage as you go to deploy it would vary. You may or may not be able to. Hussein, is that what you were saying, or were you saying something slightly different?
Oh, similar things. Yeah.
Kind of a similar concept. Now, okay. So while Meshery has some abstractions, one example I gave was a design, this thing that we made up, and it's called a design. And, there are other areas of Meshery that are raw. It's not an abstraction. It's literally the exact way that the infrastructure is interpreted and the exact way that it is configured. And randomly, if I go to database and I want a new database for my app, and I say, yeah, I want a SQL database.
Yeah.
So I need a SQL server. So I'll grab that component. And when I go to configure it, this is raw. There's only one cloud in the world that you can go to, or whatever. Let's pretend that this is true. I don't know if it's that you can go to and ask for a managed Microsoft SQL server. You can go to Azure and ask for one. You might be able to go to other cloud providers, and generally probably not. So this is not an abstraction. This is literally that type of component. It's not like I need a database and it's a general database component. No. It's a Microsoft SQL Server one. And so in this way, if I designed a bunch of Azure specific components, and then I said, well, it's time to deploy my design. If I deploy my design, not directly to an AKS cluster, but let's say I actually, the target of my design is my local Kubernetes instance inside of Docker Desktop. So Yash, this is going to get weird. Hopefully this you follow, and hopefully what I'm saying is true. I haven't done this yet, but this should be how it works. I'd love it if someone tested this. You create a simple design. It doesn't have to be in the Docker extension. You can run, but basically you target a Kubernetes, could be Minikube or whatever, and like Abid was saying, you should be able to deploy Azure specific stuff, even though you might be targeting a Minikube instance, not an AKS instance.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, well, there's some level of detail that's kind of not diagrammed here, but that detail that Abid was saying is that there would be, it is a Kubernetes required activity. And even more specifically, if you're going to interact with one of these three clouds, you also need, and Hussein was saying this as well, you also need Kubernetes operators or Kubernetes controllers that are specific to this provider. And each of these clouds has those.
Yeah.
They each offer them. And you can run those controllers in Minikube.
Yeah.
And from there, the controller, not the Kubernetes API, but the controller or the Kubernetes operator that is cloud specific,
Yeah.
it is responsible for making sure that the infrastructure that you've declared in your design is realized. And what I'm saying is, I will bet you an LFX internship, or I will bet you that works.
Yeah.
That you can deploy a Microsoft SQL server by targeting your Minikube cluster.
Yeah.
What? Weird. But yeah.
Yeah, okay, I think if somebody like checks some exams and blocks, they kind of like these using like your local Kubernetes to kind of get started.
I'll re-say that just because sometimes Indian speak doesn't come out like I can understand. that was Ranak, Mr. Modern, that was directed like at you, just to offend you as much as possible. You didn't think it was funny, so I just want to make sure you were offended or that you thought it was funny. Sometimes the jokes go right beside our heads though, or over them, or right on the chin. I'm just not sure which one it is for you, Modern.
Hello. I didn't quite get that.
Yep. I know now it went right beside your head based on, yeah, no problem. Back to what I was saying. What Abid was saying is that, hey, Lee, I believe you. I think you're right. In part, I believe you because if you go read the blog posts or the introduction and getting started for AWS ACK for their controllers, or the GCP config connector, or the Azure ASO their service operator, they will give in their getting started, they will give examples of like, oh, start up Minikube and install the operators here. They don't say it is required that you are using AKS or EKS or GKE. They don't say that because it is not required. Consequently, because of their flexibility, Meshery has that same flexibility. So pretty awesome. Kind of a hard couple of concepts to mentally imagine. It seems like we would all do well to maybe diagram a little bit of what was just said, update some of the Meshery docs and things, because it is extremely flexible and really quite powerful to the extent that it's has that flexibility. Did anyone? So I just want to point out that the reason I go off on tangents like this about abstractions and like directly touching the, specifying the exact infrastructure is because if to Husseina's point, if Meshery had the concept of a generic database and you use that generic database in your design, then you may or may not have the best experience as you go to deploy it to a particular targeted environment. The trade-off is that designing the creation of the design is easier. Just like, yeah, I need a database. And then you give it some attributes like relational database and this big and stuff like that. And you don't have to deal with necessarily all the specifics of, that your design is portable and hence your workload and your application is portable because you could just deploy it to wherever you want to deploy it to. That's the benefit of that abstraction. Meshery doesn't do that. I can give you another 30-minute lecture on why it doesn't do that another time. And it'll go right beside Madan's head. And then eventually he'll just think that I'm trying to make fun of him, and I'm not. I'm just trying to include him. Good. Anyway, Hussein, did that help?
Yes, Lee.
Okay. Yeah,
Yes.
good. Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks for letting me go through that. That helps me.
Thank you, Lee. Does anyone have question? I was like we were discussing on the multi-cloud support for Meshery. I was like, as you mentioned, I think we should just take the screenshot of the architecture, or maybe just improve it a little bit, and we should definitely highlight it on the main page maybe, because I saw that we are not highlighting on the main page that we support multi-cloud Kubernetes or support. So we should just, I think it's a great thing to highlight. Yeah.
Yeah, it's to add to that. Yeah, because actually, if you're doing multi-cloud things, or even if you're just doing one cloud things, it's often pretty confusing. So the value of having it visualized is even greater. Because if it's confusing and you want to try to understand it, it's like, then you want to visualize it. And so yeah, Meshery should be right there for you.
It's kind of makes it a single tool to manage like Kubernetes. Different, like you can manage 4 different clouds and look like a Kubernetes cluster, everything just from a single place.
Okay. Thank you, Abid, for going through a brief demo of the Docker extension. And I will also highly suggest you all to go and try it out. I think it's a very pretty quick installation. Just go and search Canvas and install it. That's all you need to do. Okay. I think let's come to the agenda. Abid, it's you that the first one is you. So would you like to take the stage and share out the updates?
Yeah, actually, let me be a bit quick now. Sorry, yeah. So there were just some recent enhancements and fixes regarding one of the pretty main constructs in Meshery. So that's the workspaces and organization. So Meshery has first class support for having organizations and workspace. So organizations are a way to kind of have multi-tenancy support in Meshery. So you can have different organizations with different access levels that you might be assigned to, or you can create and you can manage your resources separately and isolate things like your users, your workspaces, your environments, your connections to these Kubernetes clusters and have permissions regarding that. So there were some of the issues regarding how we were like kind of isolating these. So sometimes you might not find everything that was assigned to your organizations when you're like even selected that, and there was some bugs with workspaces. So you were not seeing like the workspaces that were in your organization even when you were on the organization's page. So that's fixed now. So when whatever organization you might be inside, you would find its workspaces and not anything else apart from that. And also there were some small permission issues. So even if you had like the right permissions to manage your workspaces, you were not able to do certain actions. So inside a workspace, you might like workspace in Mesh is kind of a similar thing to a Google Drive. So like inside Google Drive, you might have different documents, different spreadsheets. You can do the same thing with the workspaces inside Meshy. So inside a workspace, you might have your designs, you might have some views, you might have some environments, and so these are kind of like your drives, let's say as an analogy. So there were some issues with how we were like assigning environments. So you were not able to like even with proper permissions, sometimes you would not be able to assign environments to your workspaces if you were not like the owner of the workspace. So those are fixed now. So if you have an access to the workspace, you should be now able to properly utilize it and manage it. And also, like on the similar part, there's another construct in Mesh that's called an environment. So environment is a way to kind of group your connections, your secrets. So you can kind of have different kinds of environments. Like you might have a production environment, you might have staging environment, you might have development environment, and as like as a part of team, you might have access to some environments, and you might be using some for testing, or you might be using some to deploy. So this is kind of a way to organize your connections and secrets, and inside an environment you might have different secrets that are necessary to kind of like orchestrate a particular set of infrastructure. So there were some issues with there are some bugs with like you were not able to add new connections to an environment. So that's also fixed. So you should be now able to properly utilize environments. Also these like you might have not even noticed these bugs because like they were only happening if you have like certain roles and you are not able to access this. But yeah, these should be fixed in the latest release now. So any question like generally on like workspace or organizations might be curious about?
Yeah, if you if you assign one connection
Yeah.
to an environment,
Yeah.
like my local minikube cluster, I assign it to my dev environment, maybe.
Yeah.
Can I use that same connection in another environment, or can your connections only belong to one environment?
Yeah, so yeah, right, for the connections, yeah, you can have a many to many mapping. So yeah, same connection can be assigned to different environments, and also the same environment might be assigned to different workspaces. But like for a design or a view, they only belong to a single workspace. So you,
Design or view can only belong to a single workspace. Okay, you're blowing my mind. All right, okay. Connections can belong to any number of environments. Environments can belong to any number of,
yeah,
or be assigned to
yeah,
as a resource to any number of workspaces. A design may only belong to a single workspace.
workspace, yeah. Yeah,
It can
so
be,
designs can't belong like outside also workspace. So yeah, they always need a workspace and just one workspace. So also with the workspace, yeah, it's not like just a user-centric construct. So because workspaces are under an organization, these can also be shared. You can have you might have one workspace that you created and a couple of other workspaces that might be shared to you through the team access. So if you're part of a team that gives you access to some workspaces, you would see those workspaces also. So it's a collaborative thing. So it's not just your own workspace. You can get shared workspace and different access based on the roles you have in teams. And same for organizations. You might be invited to different organizations. So I am part of a couple, like this is my local and this is the Meshery organization, and I have the playground workspace. So I'm not owner of this workspace. Sorry, and this organization, I didn't create them. I was shared and given access to them. Kind of same like you might have given access to the Meshery drive or collaborators drive in Google once you fill up that form.
You keep bringing up all kinds of separately, maybe as a blog post or something. I'm assuming that the Meshery organization and like the playground workspace, the playground itself is like this generally available community resource, right?
Yeah.
And so these sound like special organizations and special work.
Yeah.
Are these also, or it would be cool, I'll follow up. It'd be great to know who gets access to those and when and how much.
So yeah, actually, I think one of the special workspaces that we have in Meshery is the Meshery Academy. So any of the guys who took the recent contributor exam or the certification from Meshery, they would have been given access to this workspace and the team and the organization. So like this kind of a special thing that comes whenever you assign to that course, you get assigned this workspace because the course, the certification belongs to this workspace.
Thank you, Abid. Anyone else have any questions? Awesome. Anything else, Abid, would you like to cover?
No, yeah, that's it.
Let me share the screen. Okay, so we already covered this part on the permission fix and other things fixed for the workspace and the environments. And let's come to the volunteer needed for the weekly study group for the certified Meshery contributor certification. Lee, would you like to quickly cover on this part?
Or Yash, you could. I mean, you almost just did.
I haven't got a chance to know more about the weekly study group. So
Oh yeah. Or there isn't one. And so just like I know for my part,
okay.
if I want to go sit for some of those exams, like, it'd be nice if other people were learning it with me, kind of holding me accountable, me sharing with them sharing with me.
Maybe a channel in the Slack. I'm not sure. Specifically for certification. Maybe just a thought. So do we have any action item here?
Yeah, I guess it's actually just that all depends on if anyone steps up to try to help organize us or organize the community and offer a study hall but otherwise there isn't. We just leave it for
Like, should we
someone.
create like a discussion forum post or a group? I'm not sure how that works there, so it would stay persistent because we would probably lose the information in Slack after some time.
Yeah, that's a great.
And then we might also like link it to the learning path to use that as a discussion forum.
Totally. Yeah, mailing list even as part of it. Or like oh yeah. You said the discussion forum, like, yeah. Sure. Totally. That's all. Oh, does anyone else want to second that motion?
And we should, I think, start with covering inside the newcomers meeting. Should be a good start, I think. Like highlighting it in the newcomers meeting as an standing agenda item, like we do in our mission development call. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys know if is that part of the standing newcomers meeting agenda?
Not sure. Darshan host the newcomers meeting.
I think it's not part of the newcomers meeting agenda, but yeah, we can cover it.
I'll add the action items here. Ronak, would you like to take that as an action item to make sure that we have a post up or on it? Or first we can cover on the Slack and then we can move forward with that. Okay. Any other
Yeah,
thoughts?
okay.
Any other thoughts? Anyone else have any other thoughts? Things would be nice to do. Okay.
Ritesh holds the newcomers meeting, right? So maybe I can coordinate with him to add it on the meeting agenda.
Yeah. First, we need to create a post. Then let's start with a Slack discussion, and then we can move forward with that. I think it would be nice to do.
Okay.
Okay. Next, I will move forward to the next agenda item on discussing the overly permissive RBAC configurations. Lee, would you like to cover on the security vulnerability?
Oh, yeah, I would. I don't know that. So Matthew's here. Last time I asked, no one really comprehended what the topic was. So I figured it would just be painful to listen to me talk for 15 minutes on it. And so I don't know if now is a good time to cover it or not.
Sure, maybe we can circle back and cover the other leftover agenda items and see if there is time and we want to cover it.
Okay.
So I will have a stopper at 11. I will have to go. So
Oh. And Matthew has to cut out a little early, I think is what he said.
Yep.
So maybe we won't end up covering it today. I think part of it, if I'm being diligent, then I should just put it into some words and get it into an email or something so that it doesn't get held up based on. So I'll take that action item to just go write down the thoughts.
Sure. Thank you, Lee. Ronak, would you like to cover your part? Do you want review, add integration test where meshing handles? Would you like to cover your PR?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So I will do the screen share, no?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, you can share your screen.
It's visible, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So this was a PR regarding I was adding an integration test coverage where MeshSync handles the resync request and publishes cluster data back. So I got a review on this that previously, as when the MeshSync starts, it publishes the data to the broker NATs that we have. So it was checking that thing, but not the resync functionality because it was calculating the initial data. So I just modified the workflow. So that's the updated pull request. And I just need a review on this. So currently what we are doing is we are draining the initial data from MeshSync so that we can trigger the resync request. So we are checking that the MeshSync is publishing data to the NAT. And when it has finished publishing data to the NAT, we are just breaking out of this loop. And then we are logging the initial discovery and what all the unique objects we have stored. And then after triggering the resync, we are capturing the objects in the same way that we did earlier and then counting these objects. And for the intelligent check, we are also comparing with the previous data that we had received earlier. And this is the final handler where we are matching the count and matching the data we have received earlier and then what we have received after resync. So is that workflow the correct approach?
I think there was some review from Nikita, but like just like quickly seeing that I saw some like sleep timers there. So I'm not sure like these weren't always be ideal, like 3 seconds. We don't know, like it always takes 3 seconds to stop. And I saw one 15-second timer. So those might lead to fluky tests, because sometimes the timer would be enough, sometimes it won't be, and then it would cause the test to break, or like some other exception inside the test. So yeah, it's better if we don't rely on timers and just rely on the events that are coming from the broker.
Okay, so we can omit timer and consider events, right? That's what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And regarding one more thing that Nikita said, that we are currently using the broker for in handling the incoming messages and also giving the resync command. So that's not, she said that it's not maybe recommended, as the broker is only there for listening the incoming messages, not for triggering the resync.
Yeah, so there are like different implementations of the broker. One is for the like the embedded mode or as a library mode, and another is like once we actually use a nets broker. So that's when you deploy it inside the cluster. So yeah, there are two different implementations of the broker, but they share the same interface. So you can do one thing is like, because the resync functionality doesn't, like, you didn't need to test the broker, so you can just use the interface and just see if the events are coming through that. So there are two different implementations of the broker interface. One is for the embedded mode, and one is for the when we actually use a nets broker. And just clarify, like Nikita is a male and he is from Ukraine, and probably not right now in Germany. So you had to ask him. So
Okay.
not a female.
Okay, I will take that feedback and work upon it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ronak. Anything else would you like to cover? Thank you, Abid.
No, that was all.
Awesome. So I think we are already on time.
Yeah.
And we got a couple of items left from Tejas. Maybe we can cover in the next meeting. But I'll wait for 5 more seconds to make sure if there is any urgent item that someone wants to discuss. So yeah, I'll wait for 5 more seconds. Awesome. Thank you for joining, everyone. I have one thing to mention, which is like KubeCon EU 2026 project maintainer CFP deadline is coming soon. If anyone need help with submitting the CFP, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be helping with making sure that we submit the CFP and the contract. However, my plan may change or not. So if someone is planning to attend, and they can confirm that they will be traveling for sure, feel free to reach out to me. Otherwise, I'll make sure that I submit it. I am planning to attend, but I just want to make sure who is confirmed can submit from their name. But yeah, we'll submit both, and I'll make sure to send out a draft in the community channel.
Beautiful. Sangram, he was just talking about, he didn't say he was attending, but he was inquiring about the lightning talk and stuff. And so hopefully he is, but you'll figure it out as you,
Sure. Awesome. And I think, yeah, KubeCon India CFP is also open. So it's a general CFP. So if anyone wants to submit related to Meshery and need help with CFP, feel free to reach out to me as well. So happy to help. So just a quick highlight, and for KCD Delhi as well. So just a quick highlight. Thanks for joining, everyone, today. It was a great meeting, productive meeting. Got to know many updates from the team, and see you next time. In the next meeting. Make sure you attend the newcomers meeting tomorrow as well. And yeah, see you next week. Have a great day. Good night. Good evening. Good morning. Bye.
Bye.